Hey, it's Jay with Overland Campers. I just got done with the BDR. That was Washington. Get this plug off me. Washington, Oregon. I did Washington in 2 days and a couple hours, and then Oregon. I just got to Section 3 in a day and a half, and then Section 3, 1, 2, 3 are effectively closed because of fire restrictions in that area of the BLM. They say you need a shovel, Pulaski, and 2 gallons of water or a 2-pound fire extinguisher. I can only carry the water, so trip over, unfortunately. But I just want to show you guys through my bike setup. This is what I've had for 12,000 miles of bike packing, moto packing, and it is as follows. I'm going to run over here and get this bag to show you. I've already stripped some of it off. But the base of the system is the Giant Loop Coyote. I got this with my first bike I bought. I've tried other bike packing setups, Moscow, Wolfman, but this is extremely resilient. I've made some modifications, but I'll show you how I pack it and the modifications made. But to pack this, I put, let me run over here. That's my drum. I put my 10-liter drum with hydration tip right here. This is all my clothes and medicine and maybe a book and fuel. And then this gets wrenched down. And then I've got these carabiners that hold parts of the drum to the side. So things I have learned in 12,000 miles of doing this is this will want to shift. So you need to carabiner it around the perimeter to hold it down. Even if it shifts, you can readjust it, redo it. But the goal is to make it as tight as possible. So I have modified the Giant Loop with cam straps. Cam straps are way better because you can wail on them rather than getting the clip and wailing it on a plastic buckle. This one you can go way tight with. My sandals that I'm currently wearing go under here. And something to keep in mind when setting up a moto packing setup is everything needs to be tied down. You are going to lose something. I'm not going to lose it, or when am I going to lose it? Sorry, it becomes when am I going to lose it? So no matter what, you will lose something, and you always have to tie it down. So back to that, carabiners. For this, the bag then gets wrenched down as tight as possible. This loop would have gone through my sandals to hold that and make sure they can't go anywhere. And when you're setting this, you want to move it and pull those down as taut as possible. So you want to pre-settle it, because then you're going to get 5 miles down the road. It is not going to be as tight as it was. And then what you do is you take this strap and you put it through your dry bag, and you always double tie this. I have lost this dry bag many times. One was on Hurrah Pass. Another one was 10 miles back. I had to turn around and get it. This has kept it bobbing back there. Though it is sketchy, you feel it when it looses in one bounce, and you're like, oh, that's my bag, stop right now. So you always tie things off no matter what. Else you are going to lose them. So let me undo this and get into the bag and show you how everything's set up in there. Cam straps are great though. If you know a sewer, I've got a bar tack in the basement, fortunately. It is a $6,000 CNC machine, so you cannot fortunately have that. But any industrial sewing machine could do a Xbox pattern, walking foot, into webbing. I would highly suggest making that modification. Again, I've tried other systems of bags. The Moscow seems nice, but it's flimsy. This thing has been, at this point, deep fried. I did have my stove here on this trip, and this I had set too far backwards and it drooped, and the stove, metal MSR stove, acted as a conductor and superheated everything inside, melted rubber, melted my bike, melted this out, melted my patch kits, melted What else did it melt? Oh, my extra air filter. Anyway, disgusting. So it smells like cancer right now, but I have 400 miles with it just like this. I had my stove in there. That sat right here, but now the stove is out. I took it out to get rid of it because I left it with my dad thinking I was gonna finish this ride. So here's the bag, and the way I set it up, you have this tube, and then you have this tube. And I like this to be as flat as possible so that dry bag sits right there really nice. If this was up more with more shit in it, then it gets weird. So I like to just fill each respective tube. And things to think about when filling your stuff up is, if you want to look in here, is I have the tubes separated from any metal. And then that's pretty much it. I keep metals on this side and heavy things that I don't want melted on this side because of the exhaust. And I keep all my soft goods on this side. So on this side, I've got sleeping bag, sleeping pad, tent poles, tent, and tubes. Tubes will melt, tubes will abrade, and tubes will puncture if they're touching metal. So I always isolate the tubes. That's one of my first steps. And so in this case, I've got tubes over here. The tent is the separator to the poles to keep the poles away from the tubes and keep the tubes from vibrating too much and wearing through. So the tent I have is a 10-year-old Big Agnes Fly Creek 2. It's been amazing. It's 10 years old. It has 1,000 nights in it. 2 tubes. I've got an 18-inch, a 21-inch. Again, against this wall. I have the stakes in the tent pole bag because the stake bag burned up. I've got my poles. I've got a sleeping pad that's jammed in there, and then I've got my down coat with my sleeping bag into a small-sized Sea to Summit stuff sack. So that's good to know that that will fit in one of these legs, the small size. And then down in here, I have my kayaking gloves that have neoprene gloves in case I need to do an oil change or an air filter change or any patchwork so I don't get adhesives on my hand. Kayaking gloves for any water, cold weather camping I don't foresee. And then that is this sleeve. And then on this sleeve, I have an emergency saw, bow saw for cutting trees. I've got a non-burned patch kit that didn't burn. I've got cam straps, paracord for hanging a bear bag, extra things. I would have, here's a floor pump, a Lezyne high floor pump. Those come in way handy when you flat. Another patch kit, and an infinite bag of tools. Oh, here's another patch kit. In my patch kit, I would have had it all melted. A tube for a siphon kit melted in case I found someone dead or I died and needed to siphon something. What else melted there? Air filter, extra air filter, and some other shit. Oh, extra fuses, those melted out. Extra pegs for my pedals, those melted out. Anyway, these are the patch kits that survived. And then so that's what's in that sleeve. I keep all the heavy stuff in there that I don't want to touch every day in that side. And then in the tool bag is infinite tools. So this is just a sample. I'm not going to go through all these, but you need to find out what tool you need and what tools your bike uses, and you need to build a kit. I ride alone on these trips. My big trip to Canada and Alaska was alone. So you need to be self-contained. So it's every metric size. I have a chain breaker. I've got a chain tool. I've got an extra chain link somewhere, electrical tape. I have a toe strap. I have 4 spoons for some stupid ass reason. I should have 3. And channel locks. My dad, who's filming this, knows a lot about these. He broke his clutch handle.
It was clutch handle, yeah.
And you rode with these for 600 miles on the Utah.
Yeah, clipped it on and used that as the clutch lever.
This was the clutch lever.
Worked great, so never forget that.
What else do I have? I've got random bits, extra bits. The one thing that saved my ass on this trip that I'm not going to show you because it's in my center bag, my tank bag, is Terraid, Type A and Type B. Terraid is a miracle gear tape, and I'll show you what it was really good for. This ripped off in minute 1 of this trip. Terraid, I was able to plastic weld that back on. So, I would wholeheartedly, after 12,000 miles of hard use of bike packing, recommend the Coyote from Giant Loop. You're great. And that's the setup. If you have any questions, put them in the comments.